Yeah, during the safety development
We are live
session,
now.
We're all set.
yeah, I got locked
No.
out.
We are live, everybody. So I'm
Right.
gonna
We all
I'm
okay
gonna
now?
call
or-
I'm gonna call our meeting to order, and I will ask our clerk to call the roll.
Alderperson Rote,
Here.
Stefanski,
Here. We are live.
We are live, everybody. So
Tenorio,
I'm gonna call our meeting to order, and I will ask our clerk to call the roll.
Tenorio,
Still shows he's on.
There he is.
There we go.
Vitale,
Vince is muted.
Vince, you have to unmute yourself.
There you go.
Could you hear me?
Yes.
All right.
Weigel,
Here.
Grisham,
Here.
Haas,
Here.
Keen,
Here.
Lysick,
Here.
Ranky,
Here.
10 present.
We have a quorum. Our pledge this evening is going to be led by Alderman Rote. Please rise and join us in the pledge.
I pledge
Allegiance
to the flag of the
United
United
States of America,
to the
to the republic
for which it stands, one
one
nation,
nation,
under God,
indivisible,
with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We will move on to item D on our agendas. We have one item under public hearings. I'll ask the clerk to read public hearing item number 1.
Resolution to approve amending certain activities of the fiscal year 2019 annual plan of the Community Development Block Grant Program to add CDBG CV funding in the amount of $762,000.
Mr. Schloss?
Thank you, Mayor. Members of the Common Council. Tonight we are fulfilling a federal requirement relative to receiving a new allocation from the recent CARES Act of $762,000 of Community Development Block Grant CV money or COVID-19 funding to assist us in response to the COVID crisis and also to assist various other needs throughout our community during this disaster time. Trying to advance the slide here. We developed a budget for the allocation of the $762,000 in funds. It would be administration, which would be 10%, $76,200 for all the reporting and necessary financial management of the funds. And then we have a category of public services, health department COVID awareness. We budgeted 20% of the funds, $152,400. Food and meal delivery of $38,100. This is to establish a food bank or a meal delivery system or shopping to help people who are during this COVID crisis time. We also created a rent assistance program funded at $127,600 for consideration tonight, which would be 17% of the funds. And mortgage assistance up to $88,000, 13% of the funds. And we also created a category of economic assistance for businesses. The first item is a special restart assistance program with a budget of $210,000 or 28% of the funds, which would either be a loan or a grant program. At the next council meeting, we'll have guidelines on how we would implement this restart program. And then the next program is a micro enterprise grant program of $60,500. The rent assistance program, we would most likely contract with an outside agency to provide those services. And the micro enterprise program would also be an outside entity. We commonly work with WIBIC to work with businesses that have 5 employees or less, and that is to help administer and provide grants to small businesses during this time. I gladly answer any questions you may have relative to these funds.
Mayor
Thank you,
Devine?
Mr. Schloss, for the presentation. I would just want to ask the members of the council if they do have questions to just mention their names so we can keep accurate minutes and keep track of who is who. I heard somebody.
It was Haas.
Yes, go ahead, Alderman Haas.
Thank you, Mayor Devine. And Patrick, this all looks good to me. I know you and your staff have worked hard at putting this together. My concern is this whole COVID-19 thing is a very fluid issue, changing things. What we know, we didn't know 30 days ago. What capability is there to change these monies if another need might arise? Of course, you'd have to take it to the council. We might need to take a change, but what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think it is fluid and we need to be flexible. Maybe the health department might not use all the funds, or we may not need all the funds for mortgage assistance. These programs are really structured to help people who are low to moderate income people. That is the requirement of the federal dollars. So I think we need to be flexible. There might be a mad rush right away for the business assistance money. We might need more money there. With that in mind, as we look at costs come in and other federal funds are applied to the city or from the state, we need to also be flexible. And that would come back to Common Council with a recommendation to either move funds or reallocate funds to meet the greatest need.
Mayor
Thank
Devine?
you.
Alderman Stefanski.
Yeah. Patrick, why would we have $152,400 for the health department? What's the purpose of needing that much extra money for them and not putting into, say, economic assistance for businesses since they're struggling so much?
Sure, very good question. The reason we put it there is it can be used for testing. It can be used for setting up care centers. It can be used for staffing. It can be used for awareness, postcards, signage. It's very wide open to how you can use the funds for COVID response. And like Alderman Haas alluded to, things are fluid and things are moving around. And we put a sizable allocation in the health department to meet some of those needs at this time. If that's not needed, we can reallocate to the business need or to the rent assistance program as necessary.
But the health department doesn't have to pay for testing, correct?
You're getting into some of the particulars. I don't know who's covering what costs for testing. If there was a guideline that was presented to us from HUD on how to use the funds, and they're encouraged to allocate it, get programs set up. If you need to move it, be flexible, but provide money and get up addressing the COVID crisis. So we put this amount of money there, and one of the items that could be covered is testing.
Okay, thank you.
Mayor Devine?
Alderperson Grisham, and then after that, Alderperson Rote.
Thank you. Patrick, I have a question regarding the rent assistance program. Is that additional monies for those that are already with the program, or is that to expand the program and allow more monies and additional help to those in the community?
Another very good question, Alderman Grisham. What this is actually a separate, complete different program. Under the guidelines of block rent, you can pay up to 4 months worth of rent to an income qualifying individual. In this case, we're recommending people who are at 30% or less of the county median income. So they would not have a voucher. They would have lost their job or been impacted by the COVID crisis.
Okay, and part two to the question, I'm sorry, but is there a wait list currently with the city of West Allis where there would be a list of people eligible and waiting or had been waiting for assistance?
So there is not for our voucher program to try to get a voucher for your current housing, there is a waiting list under the different program.
Okay,
This
so
program does not have a waiting list. It's really for those who have lost their job and unable to pay rent at this time. So it's something completely different.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderperson Grisham. Alderman Dan Rote.
Thank you, Mayor. Patrick, pardon my ignorance in block grant money, but the fire department, where do they come in? They've incurred a lot of costs just with overtime because from the get-go of this epidemic or virus, they had 4 guys right off the bat in quarantine, and it cost us time and, or well, whatever, overtime to bring in. We were never 4 firemen short. We were just had to replace 4 with overtime. And all the gowns and PPE that they're using down there, where is that a whole different funding source? Help me out.
I unfortunately would not be covered under the block grant unless we had some sort of crisis response activity that we would fund. I think they're looking to see if those funds could be covered by FEMA.
Okay.
Finances received some communications under FEMA on how to pay for certain costs. Some of the health department costs could be covered under FEMA as well. This is the health department has been on the front line of the COVID crisis, so that's why we allocated those funds there. I know the fire department, the police department are also receiving extra costs, but we have to also be careful not to supplant city services with block grant funds. So that's something that's very important to the block grant program.
That's why I said, pardon my ignorance about block grant funding. Okay, thank you, Patrick.
Thank you, Alderman Road. Are there any other questions from the members of the Common Council?
Mayor Devine, I have another question.
Go ahead, Alderperson Grisham.
Patrick, regarding the economic assistance for business, I'm sure there'll be a more detailed outline as it's presented. However, will there be an inclusion or exclusion per se for those that possibly received assistance through SBA and other programs, that those that have not might get priority?
Thank you, Alderperson Grisham. Yes, that's another good question. There is an alphabet soup of federal programs out there right now to help businesses: PPP, SBA, disaster relief, WEDC funds. One of the things we're going to look at is those who did not receive any, and that'll be one of the criteria in there on the selection of who would be receiving part of the 210,000. Right now, we set it up to 7,500 would be provided either as a loan or a grant. That's going to be determined next council meeting. If we go towards a grant, it would be probably easier to administer, but the federal dollars required has to be to create or retain a job. So that's really the top criteria. Second criteria is you've been impacted by this disaster, and also when we review it to see who would be funded, did they receive any other federal funding? We have to be careful not to match another federal program.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Mayor Devine.
Alderperson Ranky and then Alderperson Keene.
Patrick, could you please tell me how the food and meal delivery will be handled?
We're gonna try to reach out to an entity to help provide these services. Milwaukee was working on it's called a food navigator, someone that will actually go out and shop for you if you're in isolation and help provide food. We might just piggy up on those particular services or work with our senior center with the Meals on Wheels program to help seniors who aren't able to get out of their house and are part of the at-risk population.
Very good. Thank you, Patrick.
Thank you, Alderperson Keene.
Yeah, Patrick, for the economic assistance for businesses, is it based on businesses that were completely shut down during it or only partially shut down, such as still being able to do maybe roadside? Is it based on the amount of income lost during this?
You bring up some valuable questions there. I'd like to provide you the guidelines so you can review them that we're kind of developing. We're going to look at all that. I mean, if you're completely shut down and lost all your sales, that's very important. That should be maybe a business that should be top priority. And the amount of awards should also be addressed if you already have sales coming in and you haven't lost everything. So we're looking at a percentage of your sales as a calculation to determine how you can get to 7,500. You would have to have a bricks and mortar location. You'd have to have a storefront. You would have to demonstrate to us that you are impacted, either by an affidavit or showing your current personal financial statement for the business and intern.
Okay, thank you.
Print that out of QuickBooks.
Mayor Devine.
Thank you, Alderperson Keene. Alderperson Stefanski.
Patrick, 2 more questions. One is the business assistance program. These would be for only local businesses, not franchises, correct? that are part of the big chain?
Another very good question. In there, we wrote franchises that are not supported by a national franchise. So if you're a local franchise that's offhand, I can't think of what the type right at this moment, but you're not getting any money coming from Subway or some other entity. Your self ownership of a franchise, that could be someone that could be supported.
Okay, and second question is, do we have a breakdown of the financial costs from the time of this outbreak until present that the health department has incurred as far as extra costs?
I don't have that handy in front of me, but I can work with finance to provide you some information on that.
Okay, thank you.
Chair.
Yeah, Clerk Grow.
We'll be providing more of that information at the next council meeting before the Administration and Finance Committee relating to mitigating the effects of this on the budget. So we would be providing some estimates at that time.
Thank you. Were there any other questions from the council on public hearing item number 1? Hearing none, I'll ask the clerk if any emails came in with questions or comments from the public.
There are no emails.
No emails. Okay, then we will close our public hearing and we will move on to item E, which is where I would normally announce what rooms our standing committees are meeting in. Those committees will be meeting during a recess of our virtual common council meeting this evening. Moving to item F, the mayor's report. I just want to remind everybody that we are in the heat of the 2020 census. And last I heard, we were around 64% participated in the city of West Dallas. I think the statewide average is just over 60%. So we're just doing slightly better than the state as a whole, but we would obviously like to be higher than 64%. I just wanted to remind everybody that the census helps the direction of a lot of federal money that comes to the states for things like infrastructure, healthcare, food assistance, and education. So let's make sure that we can get as many of those resources as possible as we continue to grow and progress as a community. You should be getting things in the mail, and then you'll get reminders in the mail. And you can go to 2020census.gov to get that taken care of. That does conclude my mayor's report this evening. Are there any reports from the alderpersons?
Mayor Devine,
I'm okay. Alderman Lyson.
I move that we go into recess until conclusion of the committee meetings.
Second.
Second.
There's a motion and a second by, I believe that was Alderperson Grisham.
Correct.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? We are in recess.
All right, and then the Administration and Finance Committee will come to order. All 5 members are present, and item number 2 is a resolution to approve amending certain activities for the fiscal year 2019 annual plan of the CDBG program to add CDBG CV funding.
Move approval.
We
Second.
have a motion from Alderman Weigel and a second from, who is that?
Keen.
Keen, thank you, Alderperson Keen. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? The ayes have it. And then item 3, resolution to consider amendments to the Community Development Block Grant Program Citizen Participation Plan.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, go ahead, Patrick.
This is Patrick. The reason this is on the agenda tonight is because the federal government allowed us to get a waiver on how we conduct our consolidated plan. And on top of that, they allow us to amend our citizen participation plan to do a virtual meeting, reduce the comment period from 30 days to a 5-day comment period. So we published our notices last Friday to today to have public input on this. And that is the purpose of the resolution.
Move approval.
A motion
Second.
from Alderman Weigel, and I think someone just said a second. Say that again,
Second,
please.
Vince.
Vince, you're not on the committee.
You're not on the
Oh,
committee.
geez, I'm sorry about that.
Alderman Lysick. All right. And so we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. All right. And item 4, resolution authorizing a 2020 operating budget amendment as outlined in item 4. Can I have a motion, please?
So move.
Second, Weigel.
Second.
A motion by Alderman Lysick and a second, and I'm going to give that second to Alderman Tenorio because he needs them. and any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? The ayes have it. And finally, item 5, resolution approving the appointment of Rebecca N. Grill as city clerk.
Move approval, Weigel.
Second, Tenorio.
Lysick.
Yeah, we have a motion from Alderman Weigel and a second from Alderman Lysick. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Can I ask a question?
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry, Alderman Stefanski. Yes, sir. Go ahead.
I have a question. So I understand, is this going to be a permanent thing or a temporary thing based on the way it's written?
And I'll let Ms. Grill answer that. I think I know the answer. It's temporary is the answer. Ms. Grill can explain further.
Well, I think the discussions that I recently had with some council members was that we would maybe consider looking at some restructuring of departments and leave this as more of a permanent position. But
My only reason I ask this is because I know you have a lot on your plate and I don't want to see you burned out.
thank you for your concern. I will do my best to delegate.
All right, thank you. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
The ayes have it. All right, that is it for our administration and finance agenda. Can I have a motion to adjourn the administration and finance committee?
So move to Lysick.
Second, Keen.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, we're adjourned. Thank you, everybody.
Safety and Development Committee will come to order. All members are present. First item on the agenda is a resolution to consider authorizing and directing the Director of Development to enter into a contract amendment with Ramboll and Byron for providing environmental site investigation activities for the property located at 3601 in an amount not to exceed $67,000.
Move approval.
Second, Haas.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Item 7 on the agenda is a resolution relative to consider a proposed amendment to the development agreement between the City of West Allis and Cobalt Partners LLC, Tax Incremental District 16, within the 70th Street Corridor, West Quarter. Is there a motion?
I move approval.
Been moved by Alderman Haas. Is there a second?
Second, Tenorio.
Second by Tenorio. Any discussion?
Were
Sure.
Alderperson Keen?
Were we going to have it written up as suggested regarding the 300,000 in a letter of credit and 300,000 deposit? Is it based on that?
It would be, the motion would be with approval of the city attorney and finance director.
Perfect, thanks.
Mr. Chair, I'll take that as a direction to essentially incorporate the discussions that we had this afternoon into this agreement.
Correct. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No, Weigel.
4-1, Weigel opposed. Anything else to come before the committee? If not, it's a motion to adjourn.
So
So
moved.
moved. Second, Weigel.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Okay, I will bring us back from our recess. And we will go back to the Administration and Finance Committee, Alderman Haas.
Thank you, Mayor Devine, and I'll ask Ms. Grill to report that out, or if you can't, I can do it as well.
Sure, I can go ahead. The Administration and Finance Committee report, there were 4 items, and all passed with 5-0 vote. Items 2 through 5 on the council agenda.
Mayor Devine, I move for
So,
approval of the committee report.
Second,
Thank you,
Weigel.
Alderman Haas. We have a motion by Chairman of the Committee, Alderman Haas, and a second by Alderman Weigel. Is there any discussion, or are there any questions on items 2 through 5?
Mr. Mayor,
Seeing none. Oh, I'm sorry, Alderman Vitale.
I mean, I was going to say something during the closed sessions at the safety development meeting tonight, but then I got cut out, maybe somebody didn't like me, I'm just kidding. But anyway, the questions that I have, back in 89, 90s, with the redevelopment of the Alla Chalmers, back then,
We're on Finance Committee right now.
yeah, but that's part of the finance questions, Alderman Lysak, is that correct?
No.
I mean,
What
what
item- What item are you talking about?
well, I'm talking about 2, 3, and 4. That's what we're on right now, is that correct?
Correct.
Yeah,
That's the block grant that we had the hearing on.
yes, but the other one is,
You're,
I'm
Alderman
talking about
Vitale, you're looking-
okay, I'm kind of,
you're looking at the
I might
safety
be-
and development agenda.
yeah, I'm sorry about that, yeah.
Okay.
Okay, let's go back on the agenda of safety and development. So the,
What?
Alderman Vitale, we have a motion.
so let's leave it that way, I mean, because I was kind of with the questions of safety development, go ahead. No, that's fine,
Yeah, we have a
Thank you,
motion
Mayor.
in front of us.
thank you, Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions on the reports from the Administration and Finance Committee? Hearing none. Ms. Clerk, please call the roll.
Alderperson Rote.
Aye, I'm sorry.
Stefanski.
Aye.
Tenorio.
Aye.
Vitale.
Aye,
Weigel.
Aye.
Grisham.
Aye.
Haas.
Aye.
Keen.
Aye.
Lysak.
Aye.
Reinke.
Aye.
10 in favor, 0 opposed.
Motion carries.
And that is all. Thank you, Mayor Devine.
Thank you, Alderman Haas. Now we will move to the Safety and Development Committee, Alderman Lysak.
If the clerk would please read the items that as we have them.
Sure, there's 2 items in the Safety and Development Committee report. Number 6 passed 5-0 vote from committee, and number 7, there were 4 in favor and 1 opposed.
On item 6, I would move for approval.
Second, Weigel.
We have a motion with a second by Alderman Weigel. Any discussion on item 6?
Mr. Mayor,
Alderman Vitale?
yeah, no, I believe I could talk about the closed door session in the safety development meeting, I know with this, that, facing some concern, but the fact is, I vividly, I remember back in 1989, 90, after the collapsing of the Alla Chalmers, in a way was a little, but really was in some way, many people were opposing the fact of creating a TIF district to redevelop the site, again, at the north side of Greenfield and then the south side of Greenfield just as well. So there were major concern back then, how we're going to be paid for that, for the TIF district. So at this point, we have an issue which which, with this crisis of the pandemic, we don't know what's going to occur, but we can just, at this point, hold everything back, because of some concern about the office space and a few other issues, So I really feel that, that's a good thing. Life sometimes you have to be cautious what we do, but we have to take a chance, And to me, I think that's a good development for the site. I don't see really any questions where we're going to be in bad shape, a few years down the road. I mean, I hope not, but that's what life is. We can just sit stagnant. That's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Thank you, Alderman. Any other questions from the council on item 6?
Mayor Devine,
Alderman Stefanski.
this was budgeted item.
This money is, John, this money is coming from a separate fund. Is John still on?
Yes, yes, it would.
Okay.
Yeah, where's the money for 116th Street?
This would come through the tax increment financing.
Okay.
No.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Mr. Chair?
Alderman, was that Rote?
Yes, I'm sorry, Rote. Yes, John, did you
Go ahead.
misspeak? You said it's coming from a TIF district.
Item 6 would be coming from the Community and Economic Development Fund.
Excuse me,
Not a TIF district.
Correct.
correct.
Thank you.
Thank you. If there are no other questions on page 6, I will ask our clerk to call the roll.
Alderperson Rote,
No.
Stefanski,
No,
Tenorio,
Aye.
Vitale,
Aye.
Weigel,
Aye.
Grisham,
Aye.
Haas,
Aye.
Keen,
Aye.
Lysick,
Aye.
Ranky. 7 ayes, 3 noes.
Motion carries.
We then
Now,
have item-
go ahead, sorry.
We then have item 7 on the agenda, which is a resolution to consider proposed amendment to the development agreement between the City of West Allis and Cobalt Partners LLC, Tax Incremental District 16 within the 70th Street Corridor, West Quarter. And that was acted upon favorably by 4 members of the committee, Alderman Weigel voting no. I move for adoption of the committee report on that item.
Second.
There's a motion and a second by Alderman Tenorio. Is there any discussion on item 7? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, please call the roll on item 7.
Alderperson Rote,
No.
Stefanski,
no,
Tenorio,
Aye.
Vitale,
Aye.
Weigel,
No.
Grisham,
Aye.
Haas,
Aye.
Keen,
Aye.
Lysick,
Aye.
Ranky. 7 ayes, 3 noes.
Motion carries.
That concludes the Safety and Development Committee report.
Okay, if there's no other business before us this evening, I'll ask for a motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn, Mr. Mayor.
Second.
There's a motion by Alderman Vitale, and I believe Haas came in just by a nose with the second.
All right, he's always ready, that guy.
Game. So, all in favor of adjourning?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed to adjourning? We are adjourned.